But ultimately, for this next bit, which I think has been a real theme for today, when you've read people or seen social media, and just the direction of travel for Liverpool fans, Wirtz over Gakpo now. I put unanimous there, question mark. He's starting to feel that way a little bit. Now, first of all, when I'm going to start talking about Florian Wirtz, someone called him a silly old man, but if you haven't seen the Arsene Wenger comment, just in case, this is what he said on beIN Sports last night. When Wirtz had the choice between going to Bayern Munich or to Liverpool, he said to Liverpool, I will come if you play me number 10. I do not want to play wide. Liverpool said to him, okay. So they started him, and they destroyed their midfield because their midfield was Gravenberch, McAllister and Szoboszlai. And to play Wirtz, they took Szoboszlai out. What have they done against Aston Villa? They came back to their normal midfield of last year. Tonight, against Real Madrid, they played Wirtz. I'm sure the manager has said, if you want to play again, you have to play wide because I do not want to disturb the midfield. Now, I might get a bit of stick of this because the direction of fan travel, if you have a quick read of the comments, tends to be a bit of a battering, and some people say he's over-exaggerating. In Arsene Wenger's defence, what have we got on record? We've got on record Florian Wirtz doing that interview for Kicker where he talked about, being a number 10. That's what Arne Slot talked about to him. So that, that's factual. So I can bring that into mix. The rest might be a bit of a jump. We've obviously no idea what's been discussed at all, but also Arsene Wenger's a bit of an old man, so I don't want to be too harsh upon him. But who really cares, for me, where he plays? If he plays like that and the left is his position, so be it. And it's one I actually talked to David Lynch on Media Matters about today. So let me just play you this clip around it, because he also did an article on Florian Wirtz, but Vortex now watching myself. We'll just have a little listen to this bit around the Wenger Florian Wirtz situation.
Wirtz can kind of drift in and make it a box midfield to make it easier to kind of fire passes around and get through. He's really, really good at winning second balls as well, if you allow him to do it in certain areas. Because, when he's been in that number 10, he's been kind of stationed up the pitch, I think, an awful lot. Yeah. Kind of really, really pushed out of it. Whereas, when you get him in that left, he kind of can naturally come into deeper positions, not just to exchange passes, but also, like I say, those second balls. I think he makes 6 recoveries last night as well, because he's just working down that side, and he's got brilliant work rate. And so, like I say, I just think it makes the team as a whole absolutely better and solves issues that they've had in build-up and kind of second balls around midfield. But also from the individual perspective, he's just operating in the spaces that he did for Bayer Leverkusen, and that is where he's played his best football career, and so it makes sense to put him there. So, he creates 5 chances last night, more than any other player who plays in the game, and they
can't really argue with any of that, to be fair. I really can't. It makes all the sense in the world, doesn't he? Arne Slot said before the game about Florian Wirtz, as a few people clocked, that he will, his pre-match with Amazon, wasn't it? That he will be left wing. But he wasn't really. He was kind of a cheat left winger. That was in a position officially, but often tucked inside. And at times given the freedom, as we saw, which, let's be honest, he used to big effect. Some interesting reviews, though, or tweets around this. It's just worth showing a few. So, again, Josh Williams was asked about this. What did he think of Wirtz on the left? So he said, not a fan in the long term, but it's probably his best way into the team right now without the whole thing falling to pieces, which can sound strong, but it's pretty true, to be honest, from what we've seen. And was asked naturally a good question. How come you're not a fan? Playing as a wide player for Slot usually consists of standing on the touchline and waiting for the ball. That's not just Wirtz. He does the opposite. I agree with that. That's been a large part of what we've expected from Slot's wingers, haven't we? The wide players creating the width, almost waiting for the ball there. So I thought that was fair. However, and it's all opinions, isn't it? I think we saw a real adjustment in the shape, as we're saying, in the way we're setting up. and it was to real benefit. So does this cause Arne Slot a bit of a rethink? You do wonder, because as we're saying there, it's pretty unanimous in this fan base right now. Wirtz over Gakpo. It might get the odd dissenters, but they ain't showing in the chat panel just yet. And we talked about this with David Lynch, a good article worth reading. When he's allowed to operate in the spaces, he's a world-class talent. There's no doubt about that. He created more chances and covered more ground than any other player. And I bet you've seen that graphic, haven't you? I bet you've seen that graphic. See if you can remember without me putting it on screen. I'll pop it on the screen anyway. That magic number. What distance did Florian Wirtz cover last night? An insane amount? There it is. 11.37k. Szoboszlai was all over the place. And he got 10.61. So the distance there, absolutely insane. Brilliant, wasn't it? And shout out to, again, Sam Maguire for this. This is where, you get difference of opinion, but I'm liking everything I'm seeing. As he said there, Wirtz on the left was everything I thought it would be when he signed. Created the most chances, completed all of his dribbles, and put in a serious graft out of possession. We saw it, didn't we, in the first 10 minutes, wasn't it? On the 10-minute mark. Do you remember that? Where he's in the corner and nicked it. Created a chance for McAllister, who pushed it over. When you look at that heat map as well, yes, it is largely down the left, but he was given freedom. And do you remember that one where he slipped in Szoboszlai, running from there and crossing it, and Courtois saves it point blank? It just worked so well, didn't it? I think the fan base, to a person, is literally thinking like, what's bad about this? I'm not seeing anything negative. But it's all opinions. Funny there from Evan McGann, saying Slot's favourite moment last night must have been when Gakpo didn't slip in Chiesa for a one-on-one chance late on. Should have done that, shouldn't he? A Midnight Toker there as well, saying, I'll eat my shoes if Wirtz doesn't succeed. More performances like that, we will all be ecstatic. So that was one of the big things that was sort of flowing online, let's call it that. Probably the dominant player topic, Wirtz over Gakpo. I think it is pretty unanimous. The second one to talk about when you see the different bits is Robbo over Kerkez. I've got a question mark there, unanimous, because it's not been the best of times for Milos since he's come, and he's struggled, and we've seen 2 clean sheets in a row. And people are just starting to, think about, what is the best team? Now, shout out to Moby for this one, because he put 2 clean sheets in a row. Can't stress how important that is. If you look at the back line, it's the same largely from last year. Familiarity. Know how to play with each other. These things are so important. The new boys will become good in due time. They just need time. There's the fair shout that. You can almost forget, can't you, that when Andy Robertson came to the club for a same bargain of 8 million quid, it was about 6 months or so before he fully got into the team. We saw that performance early on for him against Crystal Palace, when he whipped in a few balls, and we thought, yeah, this guy's got real potential. But it took him time, like the way it took Fabinho time as well. Not everyone just comes into a team like Liverpool and settles, flows straight away. Sometimes they do need to be introduced sparingly. And maybe, as much as it was said before, Slot did something that Jurgen Klopp didn't do. Jurgen was very good at that, wasn't he? Introducing players slowly. So maybe that is just suitable for Milos Kerkez at the moment. Throw your thoughts in the chat panel, because there's a few good tweets I like about this one. How about this one as well? Shout out here to Taintless Red about another knock-on effect of Robertson. Van Dijk is happier with his experienced mate next to him. They know how each other plays and what the game needs. Kerkez is young, so he's time. You just need to train him away from the limelight, settle down and improve. No rush with him. Robbo is first choice again. Does seem to be the sort of flow, doesn't it? The direction of travel, how everyone sees it. Yeah. Midnight Toker as well there, fairly saying Robbo had to wait 3 months. It did, yeah, it was a while, wasn't it, for the run of games? Tony agreed. They've got to be ready for this style, this change of football. And it is a new style of football for Kerkez. The only thing that bugs me a little bit is, when Wirtz was there, he allowed Robbo to bomb on, obviously be the widest. You just think like that connection between Kerkez and Wirtz could be there at the same time, couldn't it? But the fan base genuinely feels that way, it seems. And when we talk about fan focus, it's good to get obviously a range of opinions. Not that you have to agree with everyone. But Mark Goldbridge talked about it as well. Apologies if we get shut down or when you listen on audio, you don't get this fully. But this is just a good little 20, 30-second clip, I reckon, for us to watch.
It's not everything, but it's symbolic.
And of course, now
Slot has obviously brought players in to build his own future. And it's...
We'll stack that off then. But just in case you get a few minutes, it's an interesting take, but it's someone outside the fan base as well, sort of facing into that. And sometimes you're worried because when the outside world, you often talk about this, you think, hold on, they're just talking pitch. Am I just getting sucked in by other things? Let's look at this as a proper Liverpool fan who sees the game and focuses on it week on week. But it's probably hard to argue against right now. And speaking of wider acclaim, let's go a bit wider. Hank Henry Winter. Interesting tweet this. Andy Robertson is the left back who just can't be left out. Play on wires, blah, blah, blah. He has such high standards, demanding of himself and others. He brings intensity, belief, and defensive nous. He'll need occasional rest. He's 31. Kerkez can step in, but Liverpool look tougher to beat with Robertson. I just want to sort of put a caveat in there. We need to, Robbo was brilliant last night. I thought he proper rolled back the years. Sensational. Genuinely, I mean that. But at the same time, it has been a bit of a steady decline over the last few years. Let's not reinvent history as well. But right now, just in the way it's working, even though, Robbo's been at the scene of the crime this season as well, he does seem the better option. As it says there, Robbo over Kerkez unanimous? For now, it seems to be the case, doesn't it? Then again, remember, Kerkez will start on Sunday, but we'll talk about Sunday very shortly. In terms of other stuff we're interested as fans, a little bit of transfer or contract talk coming up in the last 24 hours or so. And probably news that was interesting. And you may be thinking, why am I showing a Bayern Munich player currently who's a French international who might be going to Real Madrid on a free? It says breaking there, doesn't it? Real Madrid close to agreement with Dayot Upamecano. The reason I'm showing that is the same article says that Real Madrid have turned their attention from Ibu to Upamecano, which is interesting because naturally when you first saw that headline, if you'd seen it, you might think, hold on, what does that mean for us for our contract renewal? Because the articles also mention that there is still that Liverpool renewal on the table. I can't pretend I'm confident. And what it's also important to know, and people will jump on this, so I'll tell you the source, but Mercato, you make your judgments on that, I bet you already have, saying that PSG are in for Ibu. Anyone surprised you would hear at all? Paris boy, playing bad to play for France in the World Cup. It does seem like a little bit of a dream for him that way. Although I know people also jumped on the footage because there was talk about a contract, and Indy tweeted it, didn't it, that a new offer has been made. So people jumped on that yesterday. But I'll tell you what else other people jumped on. Another Indy tweet, which was out at 10 o'clock this morning. Bet you saw this, didn't you? According to sources, super agent Jorge Mendes has met 2 English clubs in the last few weeks. We understand Liverpool is one of them. The subject was Kenan Yildiz. The deal can only happen if one of Liverpool's high earners are to leave in the summer. No idea how much truth in this, naturally. It's definitely not happening in January, is it? Absolutely no chance of that. But he is a talent. 20 years old, 2-footed, plays a multitude of positions across the front line. In fact, a description of what Liverpool were linked with a lot this summer or looking for was this. The names like Malik Fofana and others were bandied around at the same time. Started this season well. 3 goals, 4 assists in all competitions for Juventus as well. So he's, Serie A, Champions League. On his successful take-ons in the 89th percentile. Shot-creating actions, nearly 5 a game in the 86th percentile. Now, if you watch the player, he's not a speed merchant of a winger. He's a tricky, clever customer, you would say. 2-footed, skills and dribbles, that's what he's about. But he does beat his man, and he does make things happen. As in, shot-creating actions, nearly 5 a game, is pretty damn good. It ain't happening in January. We'll see if anything develops later on, eh? And obviously, the only other things to call out, bugger me, 2 wins in a row is brilliant. Doesn't get any easier, though, does it? The Etihad on Sunday. The Cyborg. And it doesn't get any easier, but shout out to Rory Greenfield for this tweet. I like this as well. It's just a true reflection, I think, of a lot of people have felt recently. Football can do funny things to you. A couple of weeks ago, I generally thought we'd not recover this season. 2 weeks later, and I'm on cloud 9 and thinking of how we can mount a challenge. And I get it. Football, before anyone sort of jumps on that, football causes extreme emotions, doesn't it? And makes you think about different things. So I know exactly where Rory's coming from. He's exactly spot on at the same time as well. Thought that was brilliant. And then the final one, which ahead of City. Shout out to Rory again for this one. I thought this is a good one. Consistency is vital at Liverpool in terms of tactics, but also individual performances. Raising your game against the best is great, but they have to maintain this level against all opponents. This is how we'll close the gap in the Premier League, or at least not widen it. And that's what we want to see in this one. Consistency as we go to the Etihad. We're probably, if you're honest, you want to see the same shape. Do you want to see the same personnel? I think I do. Do I believe Arne Slot will keep that? I'm not so convinced. I think as much as it was unanimous in the fan base about Cody Gakpo, I think he's coming back in. Just get that suspicion. I want to be wrong on this, by the way. I would love to be wrong. We'll see, eh? But some great tweets, some great content, some great videos. Shout out to all those fan accounts who played a part in that. I'm enjoying doing this, people. I'm enjoying you throwing in your chats and your comments. So thank you for that. Thank you for all the views. Thank you to the good fan accounts as well who shot these in the fan base as well, and for us all to see on various social media. Make it fun for us all. But on Wednesday, the 5th of November, around 24 hours after a famous night at Anfield, that was another fan focus for Anfield Index.